Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast. I'm your host, Kathryn Currie, and today I catch up with one of my old friends that I grew up with, and I just happened to run across her post on Facebook, and I think you'll find our conversation is quite interesting and encouraging. My childhood friend, Sherry Motcheck, she not only is an Assembly of God minister, but she's also an author, and she and her husband have a ministry that is fighting against human trafficking. So interesting to catch up with her, and I think that you will enjoy this conversation and hear some stories about me as a kid. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So crazy.
I know.
I just ran across your I don't know if it was an Instagram or Facebook, or it must have been on Facebook, because I don't know how I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool what you're doing. So I wanted to reach out and catch up and see what you're doing.
No, it's so great. So your sister, she pops in now and then because she's one of the missionaries that we support. And I always just think, oh my gosh, how's Kathryn? Because like if you fall off the grid, after we graduate. So I often and ask about you a lot, and she always says you're doing great. So
yeah, it's been I've been on quite a journey myself. So I don't know if you listen to any of my podcasts, kind of back history stuff, but
and the first one I fell upon was the one with you and Joe talking. I was like, oh my God. I was like freaking and Mike was like, what's going on? I'm like, it's Joe McAdam. Like, he was the giant in high school. Like, because he was so tall. Like, he remember me because I was just a little kid. But that there's like people in high school you don't forget because they make an impression. He was one of them, and look how that worked out.
I know, isn't it crazy? So we never hung out in high school at all, and when we reconnected online, I didn't even recognize him.
That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. It's that if you would have, you wonder, like back then, had you met, would your life be different?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but it's perfect timing now. So that's great. Yeah. And you're almost here.
Yes. Yeah. We just met with the wedding planner yesterday and figured out all the kind of the details of the ceremony and the rehearsal and all that stuff. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So tell me, now you live near Ludington, right?
So we live in Shelby. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We live in Shelby. And then, I haven't moved very far from home. So I've lived there. I mean, after I graduated and all of that, I just moved to Shelby, which was 20 miles south. And I've been there ever since.
Wow. So you have 2 kids, right?
I have 2 boys. Yep. Grown and married. Yep. Yeah. And, and then we have our first grandbaby. So she's just turned, she's 14 months now. So she's pretty great. Yeah. So I have 2 sons and they're both married. So now I have 2 daughters and a grandbaby. So it's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now tell me about, how did you end up becoming a Assembly of God minister?
Okay. So, Mike and I had been, I guess you call us church planners for a minute. And we had planted some churches around Muskegon and Ludington area. And then we just really felt God wanted us to put roots down. And we actually got married at the Ludington. We were going there and we got married, Ludington Assembly of God.
So that was the prayer and praise, right?
Yep. So it was, So they switched their name, but it was a Ludington Assembly of God married us. And then we went to, when we went back and just said, we need to be stable. We didn't have a home church. We went back there. And then we were youth pastors there for a while. And I just really felt like God was calling me, because sometimes you need a piece of paper to get entrance into places, like to get into the jails or to get into the hospital. You have to have a piece of paper that qualifies you. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I just decided around 2008 or 9 that I would just go to Bible school and I would work on getting my licensing to become a pastor. And it was super exciting time because the pastor who's there now, so it's Henrik Liebman, Dawn Thompson's husband. He was kind of looking for some reinforcements as far as ministry goes. And so he was all about it. He was like, hey, yeah, you can come on as an associate pastor. And I've been there since then, since 2010. I've been the associate pastor there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I know.
So then did you do like the Berean study through?
I did Berean. Yep. I did. Well, okay. The first session I went through, I actually went to the in-person school. So they offer that down by Jackson, Michigan. And then the second round, I ended up doing it online because I just figured I could. If you do it in person, they only offer that class once, and then you got to wait a whole nother year to take that class again. If I do it in face, I could, do it as I could do it. And when I had kids in school and there were sporting events, and I couldn't commit to all of that all the time. So the second round, when I got my, you're certified, then there's a licensing level. When I got the licensing level, I did that all online.
Okay.
So that was through Berean. Yeah.
Cool. So then, how did you end up writing a book? How did that unfold?
Well, it's all pretty much Holy Spirit led, because people have asked, like, are you going to write another book? And I'm like, I got nothing. Like, it's got to be in with this, because it was Holy Spirit led. But I found myself with 2 boys in the military in an empty nest, and I did not know how to parent military kids. I have no idea. I didn't grow up in a military home. I had no idea. And when your kids get put into a whole different world, right? I can't call Uncle Sam and complain to him about what's going on. Like, hands off as far as your kids go. And it was very hard. I found that in my travail and in my wailing and in my pursuit, that God was actually giving me tools to, like, everything that I ran into, like, God would establish something over and over and over all through the whole journey. And I knew that I had to not be the only mom who's gone through this. There has to be other moms who find themselves at a loss, at grief, at mourning, I don't know how to pray for these soldiers. I don't even know how to do any of this. And I knew that if I put pen to paper, maybe I could come up with the Bible study. Like, maybe I could do that. And it, the way it came about was in 2020, and everybody was locked down. And I was like, I could do a Zoom Bible study, and maybe there's other moms out there that would want to hear it. And as I began to do a Bible study, it turned into chapters, and they're like, girl, that's not a Bible study. This is actually a book. And so the book actually was written pretty fast, because God had already given me like the 30 things that I wanted to write down. And they became chapters in a book. And I had somebody, like, God lit up somebody who was going to be my editor. And I just went to her and said, I asked her, I fleeced God, and I said, all right, if she answers this question right, I know that she's going to be the editor of my book. And so I asked the question, and she answered it right. And she was like, yes, I will do that. So she edited the book, and I had amazing people come around me, and the book was born. And so it's been a labor of love. It's heart-wrenching as far as, you're super exposed by everything there, but also the response that I've got from military moms are thank you, because this is exactly what my heart needed to strengthen me as a military mom, so I could war and pray for my kids in a different way. So it's a huge blessing. And it goes in waves. Like, every once in a while, someone will pick it up, and then you'll see my book sales go up for a second, and then it'll die, because it's not really a book for everybody. There's this targeted audience, but I've got nothing but great feedback on, thank you for teaching me how to pray.
That's awesome.
I know.
So, and then I saw that also you have a ministry to help against sex trafficking or human trafficking, or
yep, we did
how did
that.
that come about?
So with that, Mike and I have for a long time, the best way that we knew how to support the fight in human trafficking is to give money to people who are doing it well already, right? So, if you have a ministry and you're fighting human trafficking, we wanted to support you. And then we just really felt like, again, during 2020, we're a huge shift in our ministry and what that was going to look like. We just really thought, like, instead of giving money, maybe we ask God, what do we actually do? Like, what is something we could actually do? And so I started to just look into organizations. And so one of the organizations or the ministries that the United States has, U.S. missionaries, it's called Free International. And they actually have this already going really well. And it's based out of Las Vegas, and they work with the trafficking and the sex industry in Las Vegas and just ministering to them. And so I went out and I visited with them. And at that time I realized, gosh, it looks a whole lot different in West Michigan, what trafficking could look like compared to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And so we just really started to pray on what does that look like? And what I figured out in talking to the people in my world is that we really don't have a task force in West Michigan to fight trafficking. And so Mike and I just really prayed and thought, why not start one? You know, why not put one together? And so we started by training law enforcement. And we knew in order to get funding, you got to have a nonprofit. You got to have somewhere for people to pour money into. And so we opened a nonprofit, but we have no idea what we're doing. Opened a nonprofit just so we could get funding in to start training the law enforcement. When we brought the law enforcement training people in, it was at that time, they said, Sherry, you should probably be part of our team. The training people said to me, you should probably be part of our team that actually goes looking for these missing, exploited kids. And I was like, what? Like, I was just going to come here and advocate and train, just show people what trafficking looks like. I had no idea that I'd actually be boots on the ground. So I just prayed about that. And so the training came in November, and we offered, we had 6 different departments that came in between state police, sheriff's departments, local police. They all came in, and they had got training on what human trafficking looks like, how we're going to fight it, and that as a nonprofit, we want to be able to partner with them well, stay out of their way, but do it whatever we can to help them to fight trafficking locally. And then we worked really hard to bring in school assemblies to show kids, like, this is what trafficking looks like. It's not a white van that pulls up in a park anymore. It's actually happening on your devices. It's happening on your computers. And, you know, I began to just show teachers and parents, because they had no idea that they're not getting nabbed off the street. They're getting lured out of their houses. And then I went on my very first, my trip looking for the missing and exploited trafficked kids in Las Vegas. And that broke my heart, because what we were finding in Las Vegas was actually the kids from rural America being pulled from video games or wherever, and they've been trafficked to Las Vegas. So then I knew that it was a huge hit to come back to West Michigan and say, I don't ever want to sit with the parents in my own town and tell them that I'm going to go to Las Vegas to find their child. I would rather sit with you now and tell you, like, this is what we need to do as parents, as educators, as, you know, law enforcement, to make sure our community's safe. Mm-hmm. And so from that time on, we've been fighting to just educate and train and provide whatever we can to keep our kids safe here in West Michigan. And then I travel. It's about once a month. We have a big city that we go to, and we look for the missing, exploited, and trafficked kids that have been moved around into these bigger cities. So, I mean, it's something that I never thought I would be doing. It's insane that I now have 2 bulletproof vests. Like, who has that? How does this even happen? But it's divine appointments and how God lined up the people, you know, and put me in the right place with the right people to be part of a team that could do that. So it's been an honor, because like, one of the greatest things you can do is to get your arms on, you know, one of these girls that, you know, have reached the bottom, and you just say, you're a pearl of great price, you know, like, your worth is so much greater than what you know. Begin to come around these kids who've been put through, you know, hell, literally, and just begin to minister to them and love them back to whole. So
wow, that's awesome.
I have no idea how it happened. Like, it's all because of God, because I would have never. I'm 50 years old, for crying out loud. Who starts something like this at 50, right?
Wow. So what advice would you have, I mean, I guess for parents to keep their kids safe? What kind of safeguards do you think they should instill? And
the biggest thing is to know who your kids are talking to online, how, like, what apps they have. They're on Snapchat, Instagram, whatever that is. And for them to not keep their accounts private. If they start privating the accounts on the parents, it'd be something to really look at. Like, why are they doing that? But to really have open conversations about photos being sent back and forth, about making them aware that who they're talking to might not be a 16-year-old girl, you know, in the next state. And just to look for signs of them withdrawing or pulling away and spending a whole lot of time on their devices. any kind of vulnerable spot in a child's life becomes a lure for a predator. They're very good at finding the weak place. They're very good at zoning in on, something they could be hurting from. It could be divorce, moving to a new school. It could be something that you wouldn't even think makes them vulnerable. But if they're hurting, that becomes the place that a predator can poke at. So, and just to have real conversations that, if you start to have these conversations with people online, they actually could be adults who are out to do you harm. And I don't know that, when we had our kids, it was like stranger danger, right? You don't talk to strangers in the park, and there are actual people that you could see that would flag a stranger. Now you can't see their faces, and you have no idea how to teach them, when you get into a gaming system and everybody just has a gamer tag, right? You have no idea who's in that room with you. So just be constant in conversation with your kids about that.
Yeah, as a medical professional, we had to have training on human trafficking and what some signs of, if somebody comes in, what to look for, and I've had people, and I've had kids that I've kind of like red flagged and had to call CPS on certain situations. And adult protective services. I've had people come into my office that didn't speak a lick of English and were there with someone greatly older than them. And I had to like get them away from that person and ask them some real questions. And it's no joke. It's here in Michigan for sure. It's all over the place. And it's not just, like you said, it's not just the stranger in the park. It's somebody that you have literally let into your bedroom while you're playing video games or, chatting with someone.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. It's amazing the path that God leads us on, Last time I saw you probably was when we were graduating from high school, and the heart for God, and the desire to serve him, and the seeking him, that will take you on some incredible journeys. So
you never know what God's going to do. And I was telling Mike, I'm like, Kathryn and I go way back, because I remember being friends with Jennifer Vanderwall.
Oh, yeah.
She took me to church, and when kids' church was dismissed, she was like, no, just come in the bathroom. And so it was you and Jennifer being rebels at church, hiding out in the women's bathroom until it was over. And I was like, I'm part of a gang. Like, you know what? They skip church. Like, just hang out. And I was like, oh, I just love having rebel friends. And it was like, that was the first time that I had met you. And I thought, she's my people. Like, she's going to be.
I totally forgot about that. That's so funny. But yeah, we did that on a regular basis. Yeah, we skipped children's church. Well, because it was like, we were like I think we were older, right?
You're like the oldest of the kids. Yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't so cool to go to children's church.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Like, came in, you're like, you got to hide in the stalls. Like, it was down. You guys had it. Yeah,
we had it. Well, they had couches in there. I mean, it was kind of like, why wouldn't you want to hang out instead of those hard, like, folding chairs? Just let's hang out. And I mean, what did we do in there? Like, we didn't have phones.
No, we actually just hung out and talked. It was just crazy. Yeah. You just skipped church. It was so funny. But I thought that was the first time I'd ever met you. And it's been like, we were what, 12, 11 or 12. Yeah. It was funny, but.
That's so funny.
I know.
And then we were in choir. I remember that.
In choir. Yeah. And then we went camping, and you probably don't know this, but when I think back about when you came into my life, like Jennifer had moved away, and I really had no real friends. I was bullied a lot in grade school. And that summer I found myself hanging out with you and the Miller sisters.
Oh, yes.
And it was just a real sweet time of healing, of getting out of like my social circle, and just realizing that there are a lot of amazing, godly girls out there that I could hang out with. And so when I think back to Kathryn, I always think, that you were precious to me in that time, that I really needed to have, someone, because I remember going swimming with you, at your house. And it was like, there was just a lot that was going on that I just really needed a friend. And so God puts people in place at the right time. And so you always back with sweet memories. So
Aww.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for bringing back those memories. I forget about a lot of that stuff. I mean, my life has been such a roller coaster that I don't think back to like my childhood a ton. It was crazy growing up in that household with all those kids. And, you know, it was like,
I know you had a huge family. That was really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like almost the youngest?
Yeah, I'm second to the youngest. Amy's the youngest. So
okay. Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty awesome for the wedding. All my siblings are coming home and are going to be at the wedding. Amy is in town, well, in the country. She's in Springfield today, I think, for a missionary revival, actually, is what they're calling it. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And she and Kirk and their kids are going to be at the wedding. And so.
When was the last time you had everybody in the same place?
Whew.
Hard to do, right?
It is. And I'm trying to think when everyone was together. It may have been my mom's funeral.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom passed away. It's been, is it 3 or 4 years ago now? So three. Yeah, it must be 3 years ago. Okay. So, yeah. So yeah, it'll be nice to have everyone together. And my brother-in-law is playing music, and it's going to be really fun. And
Great.
So
where's the wedding at?
It's in Traverse City.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah. So we're really just feeling really blessed to have found each other, and the path that God has led us on to find each other after all these years has been pretty amazing.
The way that he was like just talking to you, and just one of the things that I find is super important, because my husband's kind of quiet, like I'm the loudmouth, and when we do ministry, like I'm the voice, but I always tell people I would never be where I am today without his strength. Like he empowers me to be who I am. Mm-hmm. He's always built me up. He's always seen, he's always seen me bigger than I could be. He's always pushed me to do things that scare me. And I see that a lot in Joe with you. Like he believes in you and he's empowering you. And I was like, I love him for her. Like that's need is someone that's gonna, see farther than you can see. And the same for him, like you can build into his dreams as well. Mm-hmm. And when you have somebody who's threatened by, like a strong person, or a woman with strong personality, or someone who really has a passion for something, it can, squash them down to not having the full potential. So I'm super encouraged. Like I listened to that podcast, and that's all I had to hear to know that he's perfect for you. So I'm excited for that. That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, he is so supportive, and so, I mean, he has the gift of service and the gift of help. I mean, he's just like all over the place, just helping, and definitely pushing me to, get out there and share my story. And, he's like 12 steps ahead of me, just, pushing me to, like, he's signing me up to like talk to people about writing my book, and like, all this stuff. So so I mean, that's been something that I know God's told me that I need to do is write my story, and I'm been writing parts of it as I go. So
no, do it. Because your story will heal other women. That you'll bring a healing balm to, if God did it for her, he can do it for me as well. And that's what a testimony is. And so you having your testimony out, like scripture says, like to run, like write it down so a herald can run with your story. And I just really believe like your story of redemption and how God's restoring you to better than you were to begin with is. So I encourage you, like, right. It takes a lot. It is exhausting, and you have to set aside time. But after the wedding, find some quiet moments just to, just jot down some thoughts and wait and see what the Holy Spirit does. It's going to be amazing.
So I am just like really excited, because I just feel like our country is so poised for a revival. And it's just like, I can just taste
You're
it.
on the precipice of something. Yes, I agree. I was part of a, you may have heard of it, but it's women who, I think it's She Leads America or She Leads Michigan. And it's all a bunch of women who are in political offices who have come together, just decided that we're going to start praying and bring prayer into our nation, into our state. And I went to that meeting, and I was super inspired to know, because you don't hear a lot of it, but there's a revival movement that's happening. It's just not been broadcast, as far as big news. But I was like, holy smokes, like God's about to do something amazing. So I'm excited too. And it's just about us being ready to do our part. Like when it comes to us, are we ready to, pick up that corner of the Bible and continue it on? But I'm so encouraged. I think you're exactly right. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been talking to, or I've been interviewing people that are sharing their story and sharing their testimony and being like the whole gut-wrenchingly honest about what they've struggled with. And I mean, that's the big thing that I've just been feeling right now is just, they overcame by the word of the power of the blood, blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony.
Yes.
And they valued their life. Like they didn't even count their life even under that. And it's like, we just have to be like raw and honest, because like when we do, it's like, wow, God delivered you from that. And if he can do that, just like you said, if he can do that for you,
he could do it again.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah. So get your book down. Someone needs to hear that. It's be part of the revival, all these enemy meant to destroy and, to knock down, I'm dealing with a lady right now that I've been mentoring, and she's going through the very same thing where she's totally destroyed because of marriage and abuse and that kind of thing. And her credit's destroyed and she doesn't know how she's going to pick up the pieces. And I'm like, but God, so your story would be exactly what she has to hear. Like, you've been, homeless, for goodness sake. So it's like, look what he did for her and brought her an amazing man. So there's hope that she can one day find the exact godly marked person for her life too. So you need to write that. Yeah. Start putting pen to paper. I think the Holy Spirit will reveal it. Like it could end up being, but I even think that you should, use your platform, be willing to go to women's retreats or to places where you can actually just minister to women.
Oh yeah.
With or without your credentials, because it doesn't matter, because God's actually brought a voice to you because of this.
Yeah.
But be open to that, because I might even call you to come to one of mine. So
absolutely. I would love that.
Would you?
I would absolutely love that. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was, right before I got married, I was in the Bible Training Institute at Mount Hope in Lansing.
Yeah.
And I was part of the women's ministry. I was helping lead worship and, and I loved it. And that's my heart. I mean, I'm still been involved in Bible studies and like leading worship for retreats and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's my heart. I mean, I love being able to, lay hands on people and pray and see people delivered and like see God move. And like, that is my absolute passion. I love that.
That's awesome. Oh, so we, when we do like gather women up, and it's really important that we get people outside of ourselves, right? They're sick of hearing from us, but actually people who have real life experiences where God's actually restored them. And so you fit the bill. So I might be calling you to come in and that'd be really great.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
We'll get you through the summer. Like you could do your honeymoon and all that. We'll talk in the
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been praying about. That's what I see like God has for me. So
very cool. Oh, I'm so glad you found the book. This is going to be great.
I know. I'm just so excited to reconnect with you. I mean, I forgot about those early days with the Millers.
Was that fun? And I think it was you and Jennifer that tried to teach me how to dive one summer, and it was terrible because I was scared to dive into a pool. So I have all these memories, how, and there's probably more, I mean, you probably forgot about it because it wasn't a pivotal time in your life, but I know there's people that have been pivotal in your life at times, that you will talk to them and they'll be like, I forgot all about that, because you don't know you're being used by God when you're being used by God sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and you were like, I just need you to know that, even back then, like God was using you to minister to a little girl's heart. So Just
Aw.
you go through life, there's going to be people that you touch along the way that you will never know on this side of heaven, until you
Yeah.
get there. Hey,
There's been a couple times that I've heard that people were touched by me, and I was like, what? Yeah, God uses us despite ourselves. So it just like makes me laugh because God has such a sense of humor.
He does. He's funnier than he really is.
Oh man.
So the impact that we have of the people around us and how we need to stay close to the Holy Spirit so we don't blow it,
I know.
all the times that I missed the mark on some things because I was just in a sourpuss mood, or I'm not in a good place myself, and I'm not saying that we all don't go through that, but just the intention of getting up every day and saying, what do you have for us, Holy Spirit? Like, what are we going to do today? And be intentional, our words,
I think about Corrie ten Boom. Have you ever read that book, Tramp for the Lord?
No, but I think I want to.
It is a great book, and it's by Corrie ten Boom of all people, and she named it Tramp for the Lord.
Okay.
But she's not talking about naughty tramping. She's talking about like tramping around. But she talks in there a lot about like getting in a bad mood because her plans had been disrupted.
Yes.
And like, she showed up at some place and the person that was supposed to meet her wasn't there. And here she is, this 80-something-year-old lady, and her like assistant is there with her, and they don't speak the language and they don't know how to get anywhere. And she's like, she was like, and I was taking it to the Lord and I was really complaining. And then God said, look around you. And it was like, and then God was like, bring like opportunities for her to minister over and over again. It was like, it's multiple stories about the same sort of thing where she was just like, I can't believe this happened. And she's all fired up. And then God's like, hang on a second. I have something for you to do. And so then she started getting wise to it. Like, okay, what's going on? Like, what does God have for me to do? And it's a great book. I should pick that up again and read it. Cause I love those, the stories of the saints that encourage us,
It is, but that's so good because you get frustrated in travel. That's the one place that you can really get frustrated fast. So wow. Yeah, I need to get that book because I think that's good for all of us to get into the habit of looking around this situation and saying, okay, this is not going well, but what can I do?
Yeah. What's God up to?
Right. Yeah. That's cool. All right. I'll get that book. Like everything she's got is good, so I'm gonna love it. I know. So
yeah. Some of those, that time era, that time of revival was pretty awesome too.
I know. Do it again. Like I gotta say, just do it again. Like he's done it once, he can do it again. There's a lot of saints rising up and saying, I'm ready to be part of it. Like I can believe for that again. So I think we're closer than. Like you said, I think we're on the precipice of something. It's going to be good.
Yes. I'm so grateful that I ran across you and we were able to connect again.
Me too. So, yeah.
Yes.
We're just getting started. We got things to do. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for being willing to come on my podcast and be a part of this journey.
No, we'll keep in touch. Have an amazing wedding. I'm so happy for you guys. You are a representation of God's love for us, when you think you'll never find it, he just lavishes us with blessings. So I'm so happy.
Well, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Have an amazing day.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I just want to thank you for joining in today. And if you'd like to find out more about Sherry, you can look her up online. It's sherrymotcheck.com. She spells her name SherryMotcheck.com. Her book is Remembering the Lilies, and her ministry for human trafficking is called Forward. You can find information about both those things at her website, Sherrymotcheck.com. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Be blessed.